Okay, hello everybody, welcome to Tea and Tarot. So today's reading is all about how to solve your current situation. So this is kind of like an anonymous situation, so I'm not going to get into what it is. I'm just going to give you kind of blind advice essentially based on the tarot cards. I might give some suggestions about what it may be, but ultimately the advice will still pertain to your situation, hopefully, if it resonates. If it doesn't, maybe pick a different pile. But we're essentially going to go through how I can best advise you on your next course of action and to see what will potentially be the outcome of this situation if you either do nothing versus take the advice. And today we have a pick-a-pile reading, and if you don't know how pick-a-pile readings work, I will explain that to you now. So you essentially choose the pile you feel most intuitively drawn to based on the deck, the pile, the energy of the pile, the number of the deck, the number of the pile, or the crystal or object that is on top. So we have 5 different tarot piles here. We have 5 different crystals too, which I will get into now. So for pile 1, we have this blue tiger's eye. It kind of has like a blue shine to it. For pile number 2, we have some pink tourmaline that is kind of shaped like a love heart, in my kind of personal opinion. For pile number 3, we have some fluorite. It's kind of a green and purpley one. For pile number 4, we have some amethyst. My cat actually broke that amethyst. It was a different shape before, it's missing a piece here. And then for pile 5, we have a piece of citrine. Okay, so once you have chosen your pile, there will be timestamps in the description box below where you can find your pile, and I will see you there. Okay, welcome pile 1 to your reading. This is all about how to solve your current situation. You chose the Anima Mundi tarot deck, and you also chose the blue tiger's eye. So, let's get... Also feeling this one and that one. Okay, so let's get into your cards. So first of all, you have the Queen of Cups in reverse. You then have the Death card in reverse. And then you also have again in reverse the 7 of Cups. So I feel like for you, regardless of the situation, there's kind of a resistance to change here. You're kind of being prevented from stepping into the next phase of your life or claiming your power, kind of stepping into the Queen of Cups energy. You're kind of being blocked from that because of a dependence on something. And there's kind of a lot of emotional insecurity here. And there's also a sense of kind of having your head in the clouds a little bit, but feeling too insecure to go after what you want and too afraid of change to step out of your comfort zone. So you lean more into what you're dependent on, but then that completely prevents you from transforming and claiming the power that you could have. So what you're being asked to do is to become a lot less dependent on whatever that is that you are leaning on. Whatever you're using as kind of an emotional crutch, you're basically being asked to stop doing that and to be a lot more independent and focus on stepping out of your comfort zone and stepping into something new, like a new project, a new idea, a new situation, a new friendship or partnership, because there is sort of an unhealthy, toxic environment or relationship that you are just continuously feeding into, but then you can't move on from that. So for example, say you're like in a car and you're driving towards a stoplight, and when the stoplight turns green, that's your time to go, but you don't feel ready to go, you don't feel like you're a confident driver, you don't feel like you will make the best decisions, and so you carry on sitting at that stoplight. You won't be able to get to your end destination, you won't be able to get to the next point in your journey or to the next stoplight until you move. And then you're actually creating a problem because you're holding up traffic behind you. So it's creating a blockage, it's creating a build-up of this kind of stagnant energy of you resisting this change. You're building up your kind of resistance to this change. You're leaning more and more into this thing that you're dependent on emotionally, and for security reasons, you're leaning heavily into this thing. And in doing that, you're holding yourself back from stepping into your kind of queen energy, your kind of powerful, regal energy, your emotional fulfillment, your emotional security, serenity, your emotional peace. You are holding yourself back from growing and maturing as a person by refusing to do things on your own or do things for yourself and try and learn and experience things on your own. So you are being urged to drive through that green light. It's a green light. It might seem scary. It might, the death card does seem scary. But you are transforming into something so beautiful. That old skin needed to be shed. Like, you're being encouraged to drive through that green light and definitely jump into an independence and jump into kind of doing things for yourself and becoming like a very secure and emotionally fulfilled person. You're being encouraged to essentially go for it. You've got a green light to go and do the thing that it is that you want to do. So yeah, this is essentially telling you, yes, go for it, stop resisting this thing. Okay. I also wanted to pull some cards in regards to what could happen if you refuse to accept this. Right, that's what will happen if you refuse to accept this advice. And now we need a card for what will happen if you do accept this advice. Right, so what I see for you, I'm just going to pop these here. This is the Citadel deck, by the way, it's an oracle deck. So what I see for you is if you don't kind of step into this unknown, if you don't kind of go for it, there's going to be a strong breakdown in your confidence and your communication because you're not developing emotionally and you're being ruled by your fears. You're not going for the thing you want, you're being held back by your fears. So you're losing your confidence to step into that thing. The more and more, like the longer you sit at that green light, the more scary putting your foot down on the gas becomes. Like, it almost puts you off more and more the more you kind of postpone. And that will then cause a breakdown in your communication because everyone else around you is going to become very experienced in these different avenues, and they're going to kind of grow emotionally and sort of step into their power. And because you haven't, your kind of connections within those communities and with those situations might falter, and you won't have as good of a ability to communicate as other people because your emotions are so up in the air, you know, because you're not serene and peaceful. You're anxious and fearful, so your communication will suffer for that. However, if you do take this advice, you're kind of giving up your control. So at the moment, the reason why you like the place you're in, the reason why you're kind of not stepping into the unknown, is you get to control how this narrative ends. You know, if you do nothing, things will stay the exact same, and that's how you want them to be. So you are not moving, because that way you get to control this situation. But if you step into the unknown, you immediately lose that control, because now things are moving. You know, the car's rolling, anything could happen. You know, someone could pull up in front of you. I should really drop this car analogy, but it's working. You know, someone could pull out in front of you. There could be another stoplight ahead, and you have to like panic and quickly brake for that. So you do kind of lose control, and you just have to go with the flow of the journey. But it's going to be so much more fulfilling for you, because that way you can grow emotionally and have these changes. And also, I think this card is letting me know with radical change in reverse, it's not, you know, a crazy change. It's like a small act that you're like, that you're choosing to do. So your fearful energy is making it seem so much bigger than it is. It's making it seem really daunting. Like, you might be thinking the worst is going to happen, like you're going to total your car, but what's actually going to happen is you're just going to drive through a stoplight, but while it's green, ready for you to go. So it's not like, you know, something bad is going to happen. Actually, something good is going to happen, but you've kind of built it up in your head. And so this is letting you know that once you commit to it, once you make this change, you'll realise it was actually so much smaller and didn't need as much, so much smaller than you thought it would be, and didn't need as much fear and fretting over. And you will also have to kind of give up control to the journey, but it's going to be the catalyst for the change you need to embrace your power and start being who you are. I also wanted to roll some astro dice just for any last messages for you before I end the reading. Okay, so you have the second house. That's like Taurus energy, which is like to do with friendships and things like that. I don't want to speculate over what this could be, but it could be to do with friendships, so I'm just going to give you that kind of advice. Taurus is very much about possessions and values. So it's kind of like your financial standing and your like financial assets and property and things like that. Your financial world, essentially. And it's about like your earnings, investments, things like that. So that could even mean that money is a concern of yours with this kind of change. And, you know, definitely make sure you are prepared and your finances are in order and you are safe, protected, and stable before you make whatever this kind of a big change is. However, it could also mean that through this change, you're expanding upon your financial world, which could imply that this change is maybe a job opportunity or something. And so you might be like, oh, maybe I don't really want to go after that job because I'm not experienced, I don't know what I'm doing, that's scary. But if you did do it, it's implying that that makes a change to your financial world in like a positive way. So that's what I'm getting from this second house energy. And then you also have Virgo here, which is basically letting me know that you are being sort of encouraged to make sure everything is in order, become very organized, make sure your world is, your material world, your personal world is very balanced. Make sure you've kind of got all your ducks in a row, essentially, before you sort of embark on this change, and make sure all of that's kind of sorted out. Make sure you're, you know, taking care of yourself, sleeping well, eating lots of food, you know, making sure you're getting outside, exercising. Like, make sure you are taking care of yourself, essentially. That will definitely help you have that kind of mental clarity to make the right decision here as well. You also have Pluto here, which is all about transformation and death, which we literally have here, and it's about power and rebirth and your kind of evolution. So it's literally about you needing to transform. So something has to end in order for you to transform. And then once this transformation has occurred, once this kind of death of the old you has occurred and there's like a rebirth of the new you, a transformation, you can kind of step into your power and start evolving. So that is essentially what this sign is all about. So you're being encouraged to stay organized, improve your financial world with whatever decision you choose, and definitely make this change and let this change come through. Like, stop resisting this kind of transition, this transformation. Okay, so that was your reading pile 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. If you felt drawn to any other piles, then please feel free to check those out now. And if not, I do hope to see you here next week for another reading on Tea and Tarot on Fridays. Bye. Okay, hello pile 2. Welcome to your reading all about your current situation. So you chose the pink tourmaline, and you also chose the Buffy the Vampire Slayer tarot deck. Okay, so let's get into the advice for your current situation. Okay, 2 cards already. Just need one more about your current situation. Okay, great. So let's get into it. I have a feeling a certain card is gonna pop up, and I'm just interested to know if it will. Okay, so you have the Page of Chalices, you also have the Three of Stakes, and you have the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so with these cards here, I feel like you are being told to accept change. So with this card, it basically means you are like super in tune, super aligned. You're very positive, you're very joyous, like you are kind of connected to everything. So you do already pretty much accept that things will be as they be, and you know, they will go as they go, and you will accept that for face value. You know, you'll accept where you're at when that happens. And this is just basically encouraging you to keep doing that. Keep just embracing the change that is coming into your life, and don't feel despaired, because the Three of Stakes is kind of letting you know that things are moving really slowly, maybe things aren't going as well as you had hoped, but this is basically telling you that not everything is permanent, you know. Things are always like, nothing is permanent, things are temporary. Change itself, while that is permanent, that it almost seeks to validate that, you know, nothing will stay the same, because it will always change. So while it might feel not so great at the minute, it's kind of letting you know that it will not remain this way. And then we have the Page of Chalices, which is literally telling you only good things around the corner. So you're being told to embrace change, recognize that your situation is temporary, and then you are also being given this kind of like reassurance that what is to come is positive. So you're being told essentially to prepare yourself for this good thing coming around the corner. It's sort of like a very unexpected, good, positive opportunity that's kind of waiting for you, and you're being asked to have a very open mind to new possibilities and new things coming in. You're kind of being asked to explore possibilities you hadn't considered and start getting a bit curious about life in almost like a childlike wonder kind of way. So essentially to release some of that like seriousness that comes with difficult situations, and you've definitely got the power to do that. So you could definitely start to look at things in a more like positive kind of curious way, and also, yeah, just open yourself up to the potential of new opportunities. Okay, and then I also wanted to get into 2 cards to kind of represent what will happen if you don't take this advice. The advice to kind of... Okay, so you have the Pilgrim, opportunities and growth in reverse. And then what will happen if you do take this advice? So you have ambition, diligence and setbacks with the aspirant here. Okay, so what I'm seeing for you is that if you don't take this advice, so if you don't take the advice to be more open-minded and kind of accepting of new possibilities, accepting of change, then you kind of miss a key opportunity for growth and opportunities, which is very straightforward. If you don't let opportunities in, you'll miss them. But then in missing that opportunity, you don't get that chance to kind of grow, whether that was like a work kind of opportunity, so you don't get to grow professionally, or whether that's like more of a personal opportunity, so you don't get to grow emotionally. It kind of will, if you don't kind of take the advice to get more curious about life and start letting newness in, new opportunities in, and start reflecting on the fact that while it may be bad now, it can get better because change is inevitable. Then you'll kind of miss those opportunities. You're also being asked to, I forgot to mention this, to reflect on the road you've kind of paved so far, and kind of reflect on the good and the bad that's kind of happened, and just kind of think about that. And then over here, this is kind of what's going to happen if you do take the advice. And I think this is letting you know that it will, in accepting these new opportunities, there won't be setbacks for you. You'll find that there's a lot less of this energy where you're kind of making very slow, small kind of what feels like insignificant progress, although no progress is insignificant, but there will be a lot less of that and a lot more movement. With ambition and diligence, that it feels like a very fast energy, like you are genuinely working on something with kind of a relentlessness and like an attention to detail and a focus that kind of brings in a lot of success. So yeah, let's take a look at the astro dice for any last messages for you. Okay, so with the North Node here, you're kind of being told that there's something that needs to be learned on your journey. So you kind of need to accept these opportunities because there's something there's sort of like an opportunity for development and knowledge that you will kind of need to kind of earn. It's kind of like in your destiny, it's your fate to kind of learn this thing. It's kind of your karma that's like coming towards you. It talks about the path ahead essentially, and then it's also about, a reminder to focus on your journey and your path, and to not lose focus of that, not lose sight of what it is you're actually moving towards. You also have the 11th house, which is Aquarius, so this is all about friendships, which is absolutely lovely. Maybe you're being asked to kind of invest in your friendships and lean on them in sort of trying times because their sort of advice can be invaluable, but also to maybe invest more in those relationships, in those friendships, because that might be where these kind of opportunities lie. It's definitely telling you to get a bit more social, because I did feel a very independent energy here, just like driving along on your own path, and then like your car breaks down and you're feeling like it's all everything's against you, and this is kind of saying like, hold up, call a friend, calm down, take a breather. Like, so I'm very much getting like you need to lean on your community, your people, your society. And then you also have Cancer here, which is 4th house energy, and it's all about like protective, kind of like nurturing emotional energy. So you're very much being told to protect your energy at the minute. Be kind to yourself, be nurturing, appreciate how far you've come, and like sort of congratulate yourself for that, because you've done more than like most would under the circumstances. And even though it was slow and sort of grueling progress, it's still progress at the end of the day, and that's what needed to happen to lead you up to this point where you're ready to receive this kind of opportunity. And you've got this like amazing approach to life, this really good outlook and mindset that keeps you really grounded and stable and just accepting of like going with the flow. So you're being told to kind of be kind to yourself and appreciate that you do have these really good things about you. So yeah, that was your reading, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like, comment and subscribe. And if you felt drawn to any other piles, please feel free to check those out now. If not though, I do hope to see you here next week on Fridays for another reading on Tea and Tarot. Bye. Okay, hello pile 3, welcome to your reading all about your current situation. So you chose the fluorite here, And then you also chose the Harmony Tarot deck. So, let's get into the advice for your current situation. Okay, no, that didn't want to come through. Okay. So let's get into your cards. Oh, okay, interesting. You have the 9 and 8 of Summer, and you also have the Fairy Ring. Okay. So firstly, straight away, one of the messages I'm getting through sort of clear as day with the Fairy Ring is that you have like some sort of toxic habit or like addiction that you're kind of investing into and like doing a lot of at the minute, and this is telling you to break that habit or cycle. So this could be anything. Like when this comes up for me, as someone who has like trichotillomania, when this comes up, I know like it's talking about that, and I know it's telling me like to give it a rest, like to not do that. So it could be like anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a mental situation, but it could be anything. It could be like maybe you listen to too much music and it's just distracting you from your day. It's just your current situation. You will know what that situation is, and this is telling you need to break the cycle. You kind of need to create like a gap here so that you can walk through and leave that kind of toxic habit or behavior in the past. It could also be like a toxic environment or relationship. So there is just something here that is not good for you that you need to kind of take control of and end. And then over here we have quite like romantic cards, in my opinion. They kind of represent cups. That's what the Summer suit kind of represents. So this is really interesting because the 8 and the 9 of Summer are just like so different. So with the 8 of Summer, maybe there's like different messages for both of you, but I'm going to try and make this like for all of you, but I'm going to try and make this one concise message. But with the 8 of Summer, you're kind of being told that there is a situation, like a relationship, that you are just disappointed in. You feel like you're just going round and round in circles. You're putting in so much effort and sort of it's not coming out how you want it to. You're not kind of enjoying it as you thought you would. And so you're just kind of going round and round in this really toxic, unhealthy, unhappy kind of place. So you're being told to kind of pick a choice. Is this something you want to keep going round and round in until maybe you find some sort of like breakthrough and solution? Or is this something that you want to end and just leave? You're being asked to kind of imagine your ideal future and concentrate on achieving that, whether that's with or without this person. You're kind of being asked to find a new focus. Maybe like this relationship has been your kind of all encompassing recently, and you're being asked to essentially find something new. Start to rediscover parts of yourself that may have been lost over time, that maybe you weren't paying attention to or developing. Start to work on yourself and pay attention to you, and you becoming sort of like a more fulfilled person on your own, if that makes sense. However, with the 9 of Summer, this is like gratitude, fulfillment, and happiness in a relationship. So this implies that some sort of hard work that you are doing in a relationship has finally paid off, and it's time to be really grateful about where you're at with this person. So this either could mean that in ending this relationship, this kind of like all the toxicity within a relationship, maybe it's like lack of communication that's preventing this from moving forward, or just poor communication or something, and then maybe therapy is needed to kind of break through that. But this is kind of telling you that in either ending the relationship or ending something toxic within the relationship, you become so much more happier, so much more fulfilled. You become grateful for the life you finally have and the environment you're finally in, whether that's with or without this person, but it's after breaking something, breaking some sort of cycle. Could be the entire relationship, but it could also just be something within the relationship, like an element of it. Maybe it's like one of you or both of you kind of still talk to your exes or something, and that's creating a lot of like tension and resentment in the relationship, and that kind of needs to end. So it could be that, it could literally be anything, but this is kind of telling you at the minute it doesn't feel good and it's not good, and so you have to really start thinking about whether or not this is for you or what you would like to do about it, and kind of reevaluate the situation and then make a really firm choice, essentially. Okay, so let's get into what will happen if you don't listen to this advice. I felt this one. The Painter, this is like the second time I've got this in the whole thing. Productivity and creation in reverse. And then you also have the Archer, biding your time and planning ahead in reverse. Okay, so I get two things from this. In not taking the advice of breaking this kind of toxic habit, that's not being productive. Regardless of what the toxic habit represents, it's just not there's not like realistic to keep it continuing and think that that's going to reap the benefits that you want, or, you know, create something good, because it won't. You won't be creating a fulfilling 9 of summer relationship if you don't break the toxic habit or behavior or cycle. But if you do break the cycle, instead of you sitting there kind of like biding your time, waiting for this thing to end, waiting for it to get better, and just like hoping that destiny will take care of it, or hoping that by some miracle it will just improve on its own, instead of doing that, you're taking like direct action to actually change the thing and make it what you want. And you're actually planning ahead for the future and being like, no, you know what, I'm gonna break the circle myself, or we're gonna break this circle together. And you kind of take more ownership over this relationship and more like active effort to kind of keep this thing healthy and keep it worthwhile. It might not be a relationship, it could be anything. So if it's not pertaining to a relationship, again, it's just that instead of sitting there kind of like waiting for one day things to be different, you're planning ahead and being like, right, what could I do to end this toxic cycle? Because these things don't just necessarily happen overnight. Say if it's like a really bad habit that you do, like as I said, listening to a lot of music, you couldn't just then stop listening to music the next day and that's it, you're kind of over it. It could be that like you have to be like, okay, on Mondays I'm only going to listen to an hour of music, on Tuesdays I'll do like 50 minutes, on Wednesday I'll do 40 minutes, and then you kind of work down through that. So it's kind of about planning ahead, making a plan to reduce this kind of like toxic habit until you can finally get to a place of complete happiness and joy, because that definitely is what's waiting for you, because otherwise this card wouldn't have come out. But you just have to work on ending this first, and the most important part is the reflecting on the situation to actually decide if that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to do, you know. Okay, so let's get into your Astro dice for any last messages. So you have Virgo over here. You also have the moon, and you also have the 7th house. So the moon to me is always like an air of mystery and success. So there's kind of a question mark as to what the outcome will be, what the road ahead kind of paves for you. But with the right kind of taking the right opportunities to make a change, putting effort in, reflecting, listening to your intuition, because that's also moon energy, is paying attention to your internal voice and listening to what you want and what you feel is right. In doing that, you will ultimately receive this kind of success and happiness. regardless of whether that's with or without this person. With Virgo, this is 6th house energy, so you're being asked to be a lot more organized, basically planning ahead, become a lot more organized, become a lot more healthy in your lifestyle and your habits, and start being a lot more analytical about what you want to be different in your life, what you want out of life, essentially. So that's for everybody, both in and not in relationships. And then you also have the 7th house, which is Libra. So this is about a turning point, some sort of catalyst for change, some sort of point where you stop and think, now's the time to make this different. So that is definitely happening. Like, I feel like you are finally ready for that turning point and to actually enact that change. There's kind of a shift that's occurring in this kind of situation with this toxic habit. You're turning more inward, you're focusing on your inner self. And it's also related to partnerships. So this could 100% be about a partner or some sort of relationship. But with Libra, there's also an element of becoming more harmonious. So you could be finally starting to align your wants and your concerns with your partner's wants and concerns. Like, you guys might actually start seeing eye to eye about this situation and realizing something's toxic and realizing it has to end. You're working on becoming more like harmonious with each other, or if you just have like don't have a partner but you have a toxic habit, you're recognizing how you can start to kind of live a more harmonious, balanced, healthy kind of lifestyle. And it's about kind of like shifting, you and your partner kind of shifting your attitudes towards each other. Like, would you like to actually respect your partner and make sure that you're not doing anything harmful to that person? Or are they not going to do that? Or are you not going to do that? You know, in which case the situation would just have to end altogether. But this is just asking you to think and reflect about whether or not your partner's needs and your needs align, and whether or not the way you guys approach relationships is actually aligning right now, and kind of have that conversation. Okay, so that was your reading, pile 3. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you felt drawn to any other piles, please feel free to check those out now. If not, I hope to see you here next week on Tea and Tarot on Fridays for another reading. Bye. Hello, powerful. Welcome to your reading all about your current situation. So you have chosen the Good Karma Tarot deck, and you also chose the Amethyst. Okay, so let's get into your advice for your current situation. Oh, no, that is too many. I just want one more card for this pile. Thank you. Oh my god, why does this keep happening? What does this mean? Alright, here we go. Nice. Okay. Okay, so you have the Star card in reverse. You also have the Ten of Cups in reverse and the Page of Cups in reverse. So, what I'm kind of seeing here is that you've got your kind of like head in the clouds a lot. You're kind of in your imagination picturing how life could be so much better, or like what you could do tomorrow, or like just anything. You're kind of like, oh yeah, like this is how I could improve my life and it could be so much better and blah blah blah. What you're kind of failing to see is that you're not being present, and in being kind of absent from your day-to-day life, you're missing out on spending time with your like friends and family, the people around you who kind of care about you, who you're kind of like, it's very important that you are a part of their lives. Like, it's important that you see and have like see these people and have experiences with them, So when you kind of get lost in your thoughts or daydreams or fantasies, you really miss the golden opportunity here. Like, that's kind of where your power and your success lies, is with the small sort of humble enjoyments of life and your friends and your family and the people around you. Um, and in not seeing that, you end up missing the most important part of your life, which is these connections with these people. So you're being asked, your advice here to solve your current situation is essentially to be more present, be a lot more grounded, be a lot more like of an active listener, paying active attention to the people around you. So that's what I'm getting here for you. You're basically being told you are where you're meant to be, so there's no point stressing about where you're going to end up or whatever, because you're essentially right where you have to be. You're right in the moment. You're in a fantastic kind of position. This doesn't necessarily mean that like you then can't, pick up creative pursuits. This is, telling you it's fantastic to do that. Like, it's fantastic to indulge in those creative pursuits and think about your ambitions and things like that, but you just as equally also need to pay attention to the people around you and the people you love and your surroundings. And then with the star, this is essentially telling you to sort of be led by your hopes, not your fears. So if you're kind of getting lost in your imagination because you're like, wow, I really need out of this situation, maybe you're like struggling with finances and things like that, and so you're like, okay, I just what can I do to get rid of that? What could I do? And so you're constantly thinking about these things. This is telling you that the key to having like your good life is also, this card is telling you to focus on the present, but this card is letting you know that if you start chasing after things you want because you genuinely want them and because they are what you are passionate about and what you enjoy, you're being led by your hopes, your desires instead of your fears, then that is actually going to bring you far more success than jumping into things and projects and creative ideas based on what your fears and what you kind of want to resolve from that situation. So think less about the outcome, think more about the present, more about the journey, more about how you feel in the moment, kind of thing. Okay, and now I wanted to pull a card to see what would be the outcome if you don't listen to this advice. So you have the Vengeance, Overcome Slights, and a Choice in reverse. And then for a card for if you do listen to this advice, you have the Diviner, Divine Timing, and Evaluation in reverse. Okay. So this is kind of letting me know that if you don't take the advice to sort of become more balanced and be both present and ambitious, but ambitious in a way that you are driven by your hopes, not your fears, and start to equally kind of divide your time between your loved ones and your creative pursuits, then inevitably you'll have like a choice to make almost between the two, because you'll kind of run out of steam and be like, maybe your family or friends are like, hey, you've kind of not been hanging out with us at all and you've been focusing on other things, and we're starting to feel really left behind. So then you might be put in a position where you're like, oh, well, I don't want them to feel this way, let me give up on my creative stuff. And that choice wouldn't have had to have even been made, that wouldn't have even come up had you worked on being more present and, also investing in your creative ideas, because you obviously very much care about your friends and family. You've got such like a good energy coming off of that you wouldn't want to hurt them. So if they came to you and sort of said that you've been spending too much time doing something, I feel like you would go after that. You would kind of very quickly try to resolve the situation, because you care about your family. But that situation wouldn't need resolving if you listen to the advice. And the advice is kind of telling you that if you follow through with, taking your time, thinking about what it is you want, sort of like planting this seed and watering it and nurturing it and letting it grow, but not standing over it and like desperately willing it to grow and watching it grow and measuring how it grows with like a ruler and seeing how tall the leaves are and things like that. If you just let it grow naturally and kind of focus on being present and in the moment, and if it, if it fails, it fails, you plant another seed and not getting too worried about it, then what is supposed to come to you will come to you in divine timing, and you'll start to have a lot more of a more relaxed approach to life. You'll start feeling a lot more calm. Because instead of stressing over if something's going to happen or not, or if you're gonna kind of have these fears resolved, instead you'll kind of approach it like, hey, what will be will be, this will happen in divine timing, I don't need to stress about it and lose out on spending time with my friends and family because of it. I can kind of water it when it needs watering and then walk away, not stand over it and like will it to grow, so this is kind of saying, if you listen to the advice of becoming slightly more balanced and like investing more time in your family, then you will kind of have this fruitful creative pursuit alongside that. But if you overindulge in just the creative pursuit and kind of leave your family behind, you're doomed to kind of be dragged down into a situation that you don't want to be in, essentially. Okay, so let's pull some astro dice. So right away you have the first house, which is Aries. So this is kind of talking about being a lot more determined, a lot more active, if that makes sense, a lot more involved. So with Aries, they're like really good leaders, and the way good leaders lead is by having a close group of confidants who they genuinely respect, love and value, who they kind of go to for counsel and who they kind of provide counsel to as well. So that it's like a healthy give and take. They're listening to the people around them, but they're also influencing the people around them positively and gaining experiences and wisdoms from those people too. So this is very much about being involved in that sense with your community, with the trusted confidants you have around you. So yeah, this is telling you to be more active in your family situation. And then you also have Taurus here, which is about like possessions and money and valuable things and things like that. So maybe you are quite concerned about money and that's why you invest in these creative pursuits, and that is valid, that is fair. Like, definitely don't give up on them. But it's just saying don't, have sleepless nights and miss out on, family occasions or events or birthday parties because you have this kind of creative pursuit at the minute. It's telling you to try to find an equal balance. Some days you might miss out on family occasions or parties and things, but other days you really do need to miss out on work events too, or not just work events, but these creative projects too, so that you can actually spend time with your family. Like, actively tell your boss if you have one, like, okay, like, my kid or whoever has like a play that they're doing next month, I'm giving you loads of notice, but I am not going to be here on that day, or if it's that, you really have like a very important project at work or something, just letting your family know that this unfortunately is too big to pass up, but you will make space on the weekend to make this up to them and do something with them, But don't spread yourself too thin. Make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. So you also have Venus here, which is all about harmony, relationships, that seeing kind of the beauty of life. So it's about becoming more harmonious within your life and being more balanced and finding that you can put 50% of your eggs in this basket and 50% into that basket, and kind of start appreciating the beauty in life that focusing too heavily on this might make you miss. Like, you might miss out on those beautiful things if you don't spend more time with them. So this is telling you to kind of appreciate what you have and what's around you, and to become more harmonious with your environment, essentially. Okay, So that was your reading pile 4. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you felt drawn to any other piles, please check those out now. If not, I do hope to see you here next week on Fridays for another reading at Tea and Tarot. Bye. Okay, hello pile 5. Welcome to your reading all about your current situation. You chose the citrine and you also chose the Star Spinner Tarot. So let's get into your advice about how to solve this kind of current situation that you're going through. Oh,